Elon Musk and his entire team are working tirelessly to bring his long-term dream of making humans multi-planetary species come to life. To actualize his plans, he has set up some of the most unique, groundbreaking inventions. His idea is different from that of other space billionaires and space companies. While their focus is on space tourism, he focuses on how to move a good number of humans to Mars to start up generations who will live and die there, just like they do on Earth. To this effect, he constructed his space rocket, also known as Starship, through SpaceX, his massive tech firm. In this video, we'll be telling you all about what is inside Elon Musk's SpaceX Starship and his insane plan to land on Mars. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe and comment "I subscribe" to be in the next video. The concept of jetting out of one planet to live in another has captivated people's interest, and numerous individuals are looking forward to this experience. Ideally, the journey to Mars could take up to 9 months with other space rockets, but the good news is that the new nuclear-powered Starship is coming to speed up the process and shorten the travel. Are you wondering how? We will tell you what's more as we model one of the greatest innovations of all time, the SpaceX Starship. Before attempting to launch a ship into orbit, SpaceX has been busy creating a series of Starship prototypes in Texas to test the engines, spaceship architecture, and launch, flight, and landing systems. Elon Musk, the CEO, announced this in a tweet in 2018, suggesting that Starship will look like liquid silver. The spaceship is developed in the company's Boca Chica, Texas construction facility. The two previous Starships, SN9 and SN8, exploded as they collided with the Earth during landing. SN10 lasted for a few minutes after touchdown before exploding spectacularly, and the test flights have still been deemed a success. The Mk1 is powered by 3 Raptor engines from SpaceX's next generation. The final Starship will contain 6 Raptors, while the Super Heavy will have 37 of them. The reusable Starship spacecraft can move up to over 100 metric tons of cargo to low Earth orbit in one trip. SpaceX engineers have studied the entire procedure and concluded that sending Starship into orbit with conventional rocket fuel will impose several constraints. A one-way voyage to Mars may take the Starship up to 9 months. This will be a big issue if it turns out to be very different from what Musk has in mind. Prolonged radiation exposure is hazardous to our health. There is the danger of contracting cancer from this exposure. Even worse, there is a chance of sterility, which we are sure no one wants, especially given that part of the plan that entails beginning a generation on Mars. So, to overcome this, the journey must be shorter and faster as a backup plan. SpaceX has constructed a radiation shelter inside the people-carrying variants of the Starship. Furthermore, SpaceX engineers have discovered that switching the Starship's power source to nuclear power generation might allow it to travel quicker. The Starship measures up to 50 meters when standing, which is quite huge, and one of its insane features is its incredible speed and ability to go on extremely long journeys. It is also recognized as a brilliant innovation by engineers, seeing that it can launch and land while standing. The task is fast-paced, and Musk has suggested that if Starship succeeds in conquering Mars, SpaceX may extend its operations to other planets and perhaps as far as Neptune. Engineers at SpaceX have also stated that refueling the Starship while it is in space will be difficult because a significant amount of fuel will have to be loaded in a tank on the Starship. More importantly, after a substantial amount is used while launching off the Earth's surface, almost nothing will be left for the rest of the trip. Initially, SpaceX believed it would be prudent to construct a plethora of space filling stations to refill the Starship. However, they soon discovered that it would take around 6 additional Starships to load one Starship on its route to Mars completely. This endeavor is just too large and costly to sustain. Due to the size of space, it will surely take time to conquer it, so SpaceX has come up with additional concepts to achieve a speedier voyage. They investigated the solar cells linked to the Starship to propel it forward with the sun's rays striking the cells. This method was employed by the Light Sail 2 Planetary Society, which is now circling the Earth. Solar cells propelled the Japanese Icaro's spaceship as it sailed by Venus in space, and it performed well while it was there. The engineers were anxious to see how quickly the solar cell might transport Starships to Mars. The size of the Starship is nearly comparable to a football field, and for the weight of this inestimable invention, there may be some drawbacks. The SpaceX engineers engineers also figured out that the more the starships go away from the sun, the more they lose touch with its energy and boundaries. It became evident that the space sail option could not be sustained for as long as space travel is possible. Then emerged the concept of nuclear propulsion. They realized that a nuclear power plant could power a starship, but they also had doubts on if it will result in an unpleasant calamity. In this sense, the corporation was hesitant to embrace the concept of nuclear propulsion. NASA has made significant investments in its Space Launch System rockets and its Artemis moon program, employing chemical propulsions. However, NASA has limits because the majority of its decisions are politically motivated. Word is now out in the open that the United States military is quietly preparing to use SpaceX Starship as an ultra-rapid freight transporter here on Earth. NASA has even contacted SpaceX to utilize the Starship to carry its astronauts to the moon. This demonstrates their total trust in this technology. SpaceX and NASA will go to whatever length to ensure that the Starship transports humans to Mars. SpaceX will test uranium to ascertain if it could be used as fuel because this substance has an exceptionally high energy density. Its density happens to be 4 million times greater than that of any chemical rocket fuel. It is less challenging to deal with, and it requires far less uranium to create energy than hydrogen. However, because Musk collaborates with his engineers rather than the government, SpaceX is seriously contemplating nuclear propulsions, as sustaining this measure will likely pose a challenge in the future. Elon Musk is rapidly pushing SpaceX in this direction, and when he finalizes his plans, more analysis from the two functional elements of nuclear propulsion must be performed. For starters, nuclear thermal propulsion has been tried and shown to be a more robust alternative. They will insert a tiny nuclear reactor into the spaceships to heat a gas, which will then be accelerated through a nozzle, producing thrust to propel the spacecraft forward. This promises to be more efficient than any other chemical system. Then there's nuclear electric propulsion. Choosing this option will cause SpaceX to create electricity from a high-power fusion reactor, which may be utilized to power another device, such as a Hall thruster. It can power many electric thrusters simultaneously and does not require energy from the sun or space to function. It is also very relaxed. It generates more thrust and is more efficient than other methods. According to the research, electric propulsion is the most convenient for lengthy voyages, such as traveling to Mars, Neptune, and other regions of space because of its high amounts of energy. Even more intriguing, Starship can reach Mars in less than 70% of its anticipated journey time thanks to nuclear electric propulsion. It is safe, quick, and dependable. With all these boxes checked, SpaceX will most likely stick with the plan of generating power for its spaceship through nuclear propulsions. This system will fuel Musk's ambition of carrying millions of people and all it takes to develop the planet into Mars in the future. SpaceX is yet to issue an official press release indicating that it will proceed with this plan. Elon Musk has generated suspicion on it severally. Space enthusiasts and astronauts have their fingers crossed to anticipate how it will all play out in the end. Although in all, we trust that Elon Musk's SpaceX will do the needful, especially for the safety of spaceship users. Do you think Elon Musk made a wise decision in inventing the spaceship? Are you set to become an interplanetary species? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on post notifications.